You wake up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, hands trembling. The blue light of your phone illuminates your face as you scroll through yet another article about how artificial intelligence is revolutionizing your industry. Your mind races through calculations you've made 100 times before. How many months until they realize ChatGPT can do what you do? How long before that promotion you just earned becomes meaningless? Tomorrow you'll sit at your desk, watching your manager's face for signs, analyzing every email for hidden meaning, wondering if today is the day they'll call you into that meeting. This isn't paranoia. This is the psychological reality for millions of workers navigating what researchers now call AI workplace anxiety, a multidimensional fear that has driven a 50% surge in career-related stress consultations throughout 2025. If you've ever felt your stomach drop while reading about AI capabilities, if you've questioned your own relevance while using the very tools designed to assist you, you're experiencing something profound and increasingly common. The anxiety isn't just about losing a paycheck. It's about losing your identity, your purpose, the narrative you've built about who you are and what you contribute to the world. Picture Sarah, a 29-year-old senior copywriter at a digital agency. She was recently promoted, even made head of her department by default. Yet every morning she tracks her hours on projects with a growing sense of dread. Her company is AI-focused, and while she uses ChatGPT for keywords and rephrasing, she creates most of her content independently. Still, the question haunts her. Why would they keep paying her salary when a subscription costs $20 a month? Sarah represents a specific demographic, experiencing the highest levels of AI-related job anxiety. Research shows that millennials, workers between 25 and 34 years old, report the most intense concern, with 54% expressing fears that AI threatens their jobs, and 56% worrying about impacts across their entire industry. These aren't entry-level workers panicking about their first job. These are established professionals who have spent a decade building expertise, only to watch that expertise become potentially obsolete. The numbers tell a sobering story. A comprehensive study involving 5,273 employed adults across the United States found that 52% harbor significant concerns about AI's effects on their employment. Nearly half, 47%, view AI as a direct threat to their jobs, while 32% anticipate it will result in fewer opportunities overall. Only 6% believe AI will create more positions than it eliminates. In 2025 alone, approximately 55,000 job cuts in the United States were directly attributed to artificial intelligence out of 1.17 million total layoffs, the highest level since the pandemic year of 2020. What makes this anxiety particularly insidious is its gendered dimension. Research across multiple studies reveals that women consistently report higher levels of AI-related anxiety than men. In one educational study, female respondents scored significantly higher on AI anxiety measures, with a large effect size. This disparity likely reflects broader workplace vulnerabilities and the concentration of women in certain professional roles, particularly clerical and administrative positions, that research identifies as highly exposed to AI automation. The fear also manifests differently across generations. While millennials express the highest immediate concern, Gen Z workers, despite growing up immersed in technology, report troubling patterns of dependency and diminishing confidence. 28% of Gen Z employees acknowledge that AI makes them feel less intelligent, even as 14% admit to fully depending on it for job functions. 34% of Gen Z workers fear AI will disrupt their jobs within 3 years. They face a unique psychological bind, native comfort with technology combined with an acute awareness of their own replaceability. When psychologists examine AI workplace anxiety, they discover it's not a single emotion, but a constellation of interconnected fears. Understanding these dimensions helps explain why this anxiety feels so overwhelming, so inescapable. First, there's job replacement anxiety, the most obvious and direct fear. This is the visceral dread that your position will simply cease to exist, that someone will calculate the cost-benefit analysis and decide the machine wins. Studies using the artificial intelligence anxiety scale consistently find that job replacement anxiety ranks among the highest subscale scores, particularly among workers in roles involving routine cognitive tasks. But beneath that surface fear lies something deeper: learning anxiety. This is the psychological burden of constantly needing to understand, adapt to, and master new AI systems. Interestingly, research reveals that learning anxiety can actually predict more positive attitudes toward AI, suggesting that engagement, even anxious engagement, reflects investment rather than avoidance. Workers who worry about learning AI aren't necessarily opposed to it. They're exhausted by the relentless pace of change. Then there's what researchers call socio-technical blindness, the fear that you can't see what's coming, that the technology is advancing so rapidly and opaquely that you're unable to prepare or respond. Imagine trying to navigate a landscape where the terrain changes every time you look away. 25% of workers express fears about their skills eroding, while 21% acknowledge they've already begun to struggle with tasks they once performed effortlessly. The ground is shifting beneath them, and they can't map the new territory fast enough. Configuration anxiety adds another layer. This isn't fear of AI itself, but fear of how it's being implemented in your workplace without your input. How decisions about AI adoption are made in boardrooms you'll never enter, by people who won't experience the consequences. The technology feels imposed rather than collaborative. Finally, there's what we might call existential anxiety, the fear that AI represents something larger and more threatening than job loss. 93% of respondents in one study reported fear of ethical condemnation related to AI, and 87% expressed unpredictability anxiety about humanity's future in an AI-dominated era. This anxiety transcends personal circumstances and touches on questions of meaning, value, and what it means to be human in a world where machines can perform human cognitive functions. Consider Marcus, whose story emerged in online discussions about AI and employment. Last year, he earned $95,000 in a skilled position. 3 years ago, companies were eager to hire him. Now he's been partially replaced by software. He's not entirely unemployed, not yet. But his employer made it clear they need fewer people for much less work, and they'll choose the least expensive options available. Marcus exists in a liminal space, simultaneously employed and obsolete, watching the slow erosion of his professional value. This psychological state triggers what researchers identify as a predictable emotional cascade. AI workplace anxiety significantly predicts negative emotions, which in turn fully mediate the relationship between AI anxiety and decreased life satisfaction. The technical language obscures the human reality. When you fear AI will take your job, you experience persistent negative emotions: dread, worthlessness, anger, helplessness, and those emotions poison your overall sense that life has meaning and value. The cascade continues. Negative emotions lead to emotional exhaustion. You're constantly vigilant, constantly braced for bad news, constantly performing the mental labor of imagining worst-case scenarios and contingency plans. This exhaustion doesn't just make you tired, it fundamentally changes your behavior at work. Research establishes that AI anxiety, mediated through emotional exhaustion, significantly predicts workplace deviant behavior, cutting corners, withdrawing effort, engaging in self-protective actions that might ultimately justify the very replacement you fear. Sarah, the copywriter, described physical manifestations: eyebrow twitching, shaky hands, symptoms she hadn't experienced since starting antidepressants. She deleted all social media except Reddit to reduce anxiety triggers, yet still encountered posts that spiraled her into catastrophic thinking. She's 29, recently promoted, and seriously contemplating abandoning her entire career field because she can't handle the stress of working in an increasingly competitive and undervalued field. This is how AI anxiety destroys you slowly, not through sudden job loss, but through chronic stress that undermines your health, relationships, and sense of self-worth. Research shows that 61% of workers are now considering upskilling or reskilling specifically due to AI anxiety. Among managers and supervisors, that number jumps to 73%. They're not necessarily responding to actual threats to their current positions. They're responding to the psychological burden of uncertainty. Psychologists Richard Lazarus and Susan Folkman developed what they called the transactional theory of stress and coping, which provides a framework for understanding why AI anxiety affects people so differently. According to this theory, stress results from transactions between individuals and their environment, mediated by two types of cognitive appraisal: challenge appraisals and threat appraisals. When you appraise AI as a challenge, you perceive opportunities for growth, mastery, and adaptation. You might engage in what researchers call job crafting, actively redesigning your tasks and responsibilities to incorporate AI as a tool that enhances your capabilities rather than replaces them. Workers who make challenge appraisals show increased innovative work behavior. They take risks, develop new skills, and position themselves as complementary to AI rather than in competition with it. But when you appraise AI as a threat, you perceive potential harm, loss, and helplessness. This threat appraisal generates AI anxiety, which inhibits risk-taking and skill development, ultimately limiting your ability to adapt. You become trapped in a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your anxiety prevents the very behaviors that might protect you from the outcome you fear. What determines whether you see challenge or threat? Research points to several critical factors. Social support. Having relationships with people who listen, validate your concerns, and offer practical help significantly moderates the effect of AI anxiety on negative emotions. Leader support, particularly supervisors who encourage innovation and provide resources for adaptation, reduces AI-related concerns and enhances innovative work behavior. Career self-efficacy also plays a crucial role. Workers with stronger beliefs in their ability to navigate career challenges, make decisions, and acquire new skills experience less job-seeking anxiety in the AI era. Attitudes toward AI and AI literacy. Actual understanding of how these systems work, what they can and cannot do, mediate the relationship between career confidence and anxiety. Knowledge reduces fear. Understanding the boundaries of AI capabilities helps you see where human expertise remains essential. This explains why education and training programs show measurable effects. One study in Bangladesh's banking sector found that while 80% of employees initially feared AI-driven job displacement, those who received training showed significantly reduced anxiety. The training didn't just teach technical skills, it reconstructed the cognitive appraisal from threat to challenge. There's a crucial tension in the AI anxiety narrative that deserves examination. While the fear is psychologically real and measurably impacts mental health and workplace behavior, the actual employment data tells a more complex story. Analysis of U.S. occupational unemployment rates between 2022 and 2025 reveals that occupations with the highest AI exposure did experience unemployment increases. Computer and mathematical occupations, predictably among the most AI exposed, saw some of the steepest rises. The correlation coefficient between AI exposure and unemployment increases was 0.47, rising to 0.57 when measuring actual AI adoption rather than theoretical exposure. However, other research using different methodologies found something unexpected. Between 2022 and early 2025, unemployment actually rose faster for the least AI-exposed workers than for the most exposed. The least exposed quintile saw unemployment climb by 0.94 percentage points, compared to 0.30 percentage points for the most exposed quintile. Some AI-exposed fields, such as accounting, are experiencing growth in youth employment. Economists point to traditional factors, Inflation, interest rates, business uncertainty, government instability, accelerated offshoring enabled by remote work as more significant drivers of current unemployment than AI itself. The narrative AI is killing jobs may be premature, even while concerns about future technological disruption remain legitimate. This creates a psychological paradox. Workers are experiencing genuine, measurable anxiety about AI job displacement. That anxiety produces real negative emotions, emotional exhaustion, and altered workplace behavior. Yet the actual employment effects remain ambiguous, contested, and entangled with numerous other economic factors. The anxiety, in other words, may be outpacing the reality, but that doesn't make the anxiety irrational. Humans evolved to be sensitive to potential threats, especially threats to resources necessary for survival. Employment provides not just income but identity, structure, social connection, and purpose. The possibility of losing those elements, even if that possibility is probabilistic and distant, triggers powerful defensive responses. There's a philosophical question embedded in AI job anxiety that goes beyond economics. What happens to human dignity when our labor becomes unnecessary? Karl Marx wrote about alienation, the separation of workers from the products of their labor, from the labor process itself, from their own human nature, and from other human beings. In the AI era, we face a new form of alienation, separation from our own cognitive capabilities. When AI performs intellectual tasks we once prided ourselves on mastering, we experience what researchers studying college students called job-seeking anxiety, rooted in this alienated state. The copywriter who watches ChatGPT generate text, the radiologist who sees AI interpret scans, the paralegal who observes algorithms research cases. They aren't just watching tasks being automated. They're watching their years of education, their hard-won expertise, their professional identity being rendered potentially superfluous. One Reddit user captured this. "I can't shake the feeling that I'll eventually be laid off and replaced by AI, which has led me to seriously contemplate a career change." Philosopher Martin Heidegger wrote about technology not merely as tools, but as a way of revealing the world, a mode of understanding reality. When we adopt AI technologies, we're not just changing how work gets done, we're changing how we understand what work is, what human contribution means, what has value. The anxiety many workers feel may be at its deepest level an anxiety about this ontological shift, a fear that the framework through which they've understood their place in the world is dissolving. Existential psychologists like Viktor Frankl emphasize that humans need meaning more than they need comfort. We can endure tremendous hardship if we believe that hardship serves a purpose. AI anxiety cuts at this existential core. If machines can do what I do, what is my purpose? What meaning can I derive from my work? What unique contribution can I make that justifies my existence in economic terms? This explains why the anxiety is so pervasive even among workers whose jobs appear secure. It's not just about immediate personal risk. It's about living in a world where the question, "What do you do?" might eventually receive the answer, "Nothing a machine couldn't do better and cheaper." In online communities where workers gather to discuss AI anxiety, certain narrative patterns emerge. Understanding these stories reveals the cognitive frameworks people use to make sense of their fear. One common narrative is catastrophic collapse. AI will eliminate so many jobs so quickly that the entire economic system will destabilize. By 2026, unemployment will dominate headlines. By 2030, we'll face a scenario where automated businesses have no customers because unemployed people can't afford to buy anything. This narrative has apocalyptic elements, imagining not just personal loss, but civilizational transformation. Another narrative focuses on personal inadequacy. Maybe the problem isn't AI, but your own failure to be exceptional enough. If you were truly valuable, truly irreplaceable, you wouldn't be worried. This narrative turns anxiety inward, transforming a systemic technological shift into a personal failing. Sarah, the copywriter, wondered whether her recent promotion was meaningful or just temporary, whether she was fooling herself about her own abilities. A third narrative emphasizes adaptation. AI is just another tool, and those who learn to work alongside it will thrive, while those who resist will be left behind. This narrative offers agency and hope, but requires constant learning, constant evolution, constant proof of relevance. It's exhausting in its own way, demanding perpetual self-reinvention. Then there's the narrative of futility. AI will either destroy most jobs or it won't, and worrying about it accomplishes nothing. If displacement happens on a massive scale, there won't be anything individuals can do anyway. We'll either receive unemployment assistance or face collective crisis. This narrative seeks comfort through surrender, reducing anxiety by accepting powerlessness. Each narrative serves a psychological function. The catastrophic narrative validates the intensity of your fear. If civilization itself is at stake, your anxiety is proportionate and appropriate. The inadequacy narrative gives you something to control. If the problem is you can fix yourself. The adaptation narrative provides a path forward. The futility narrative offers permission to stop fighting. But perhaps the most psychologically sophisticated response comes from understanding that multiple truths coexist. Yes, AI will transform work. Yes, some jobs will disappear. Yes, new opportunities will emerge. Yes, the transition will be painful for many people. Yes, your anxiety is real and valid. Yes, you have agency even within constraints. Yes, systemic forces beyond your control will shape outcomes. Yes, you can still make choices about how you respond. Research on reducing AI workplace anxiety points to concrete strategies. These aren't platitudes about staying positive. They're evidence-based interventions that measurably decrease negative emotions and increase adaptive behaviors. First, cultivate social support intentionally. This means not just having relationships, but actively discussing your concerns with people who respond with empathy rather than dismissal. Studies show that social support moderates the effect of AI anxiety on negative emotions with statistical significance. When you feel heard and supported, the same level of AI uncertainty produces less emotional distress. Second, develop actual AI literacy. Many workers fear AI based on headlines and speculation rather than understanding what current systems actually can and cannot do. Taking courses, experimenting with AI tools, learning about their limitations, reading beyond marketing materials. This knowledge transforms abstract threat into concrete reality you can assess accurately. Research demonstrates that AI literacy mediates the relationship between career confidence and job-seeking anxiety. Third, reframe where possible from threat to challenge. This doesn't mean pretending threats don't exist. It means actively looking for opportunities to use AI as a tool that enhances your capabilities rather than replaces them. Organizations that provide leader support for innovation and adequate resources enable this reframing, reducing AI anxiety while increasing innovative work behavior. Fourth, engage in job crafting. Rather than passively waiting to see how AI affects your role, actively redesign your tasks and responsibilities to emphasize uniquely human elements: complex judgment, emotional intelligence, creative synthesis, relationship building, ethical reasoning. Research shows that job crafting mediates between AI perception and innovative work behavior. Fifth, address the physical manifestations of anxiety directly. Sarah mentioned therapy and medication. These aren't signs of weakness, but evidence-based treatments for anxiety disorders that can co-occur with situational stress. The twitching, shaking, sleeplessness. These symptoms deserve medical attention regardless of whether the anxiety-inducing situation resolves. Finally, recognize that uncertainty is the actual stressor more than AI itself. Humans tolerate known threats better than ambiguous ones. We're living through a period of genuine uncertainty about how AI will reshape work, and that uncertainty may persist for years. Building psychological tolerance for uncertainty through mindfulness practices, acceptance and commitment therapy, or simply acknowledging that not knowing is the current reality, can reduce the distress that uncertainty generates. There's something your anxious mind needs to hear. You are not your job, and your value is not determined by your economic productivity. This might sound like hollow reassurance, the kind of thing people say when they don't understand the real stakes. But it's actually a fundamental truth that becomes clearer when we examine the history of technological disruption. Every major technological shift, agriculture, industrialization, computerization, eliminated certain types of work while creating new categories of labor that were previously unimaginable. 40% of jobs that exist today didn't exist in 1940. The telephone operators, elevator operators, and ice cutters of previous generations found new roles, though often after painful transitions. AI represents another inflection point, one that may prove more disruptive than previous transitions because it targets cognitive labor rather than just physical work. The pace may be faster, the displacement may be broader, but human adaptability, our defining characteristic as a species, hasn't changed. More importantly, economic value and human worth are not synonymous. You possess inherent dignity regardless of whether a machine can perform your job functions. Your relationships, creativity, capacity for compassion, ability to find meaning and create beauty, these exist independent of labor markets. The existential crisis AI provokes reveals how deeply we've confused our economic roles with our essential selves. This isn't an argument for complacency about economic disruption or dismissal of legitimate concerns about livelihood. It's a recognition that even as we navigate these practical challenges, we can simultaneously refuse to let our sense of self collapse into our employment status. You are more than what you produce. You are more than what you're paid to do, and the anxiety you feel right now, at 3 a.m., scrolling through articles about AI capabilities. That anxiety is your nervous system trying to protect you, trying to keep you alert to potential threats. Thank it for its vigilance, and then remind yourself that you have faced uncertainty before, that you have adapted before, that you possess resources and relationships and resilience that no algorithm can replicate. The future is genuinely uncertain. AI will change work in ways we cannot fully predict. Some people will lose jobs. Some industries will transform beyond recognition. These are real possibilities deserving real concern. But you are not helpless. You are not alone. And your worth is not up for negotiation.